sure many of you have heard about the ongoing debate about whether or not the school boards should provide music education or not. Well, I, for one, coming as a child who struggled with ADHD, found that music above all medications helped me develop into a more responsible, successful, and smart individual. So I am here to really defend the constant cutting of music programs that's going on in our nation. Ever since the music programs have been cut from school, it has become more apparent that our youth has been lacking more in education, responsibility, and success. It is more of a 10% IQ drop since the generations preceding us. Whether it's in the classroom or outside the classroom, we find that students are struggling dramatically. Our GPAs are lowering as a nation as a whole. Our lowest GPAs are found in schools that actually have no music programs whatsoever. And the average students are struggling in very important topics that we use in everyday life, as in our common reading, writing, and the occasional math. While outside the classroom, we're struggling more and more with hand-eye coordination and retaining our memory. All this information was provided by Dwayne Shin's article on how to make your kids more successful. Now that we have discussed education, let me talk to you about common discipline and respect. Today's serious lack of modesty, gentlemanly features, and lack of privacy makes it clear that our nation's youth lack significantly in respect and discipline. Time management is one example of that. I know at least 3 of you barely make it to class on time, at least one class every day of the week. I know all of us at least have one class every day that is interrupted by some obnoxious kid that doesn't pay attention, or somebody who can't come in the room at the right time, or interrupt speech, as of last week. We are not modest in how we dress. It's not everyone, obviously no one in this classroom, but I'm talking more of the younger generation. We show a little too much skin. Guys, we don't need to be showing nudity on our shirts, yet we do. And whatever happened to the gentlemanly features of opening doors for each other and saying please and thank you when we're given things? Once again, respect for our elders is going downhill more. Whether it's what they do, whether they provide for us, or something going out of their way for us, we don't always remember to say thank you or show them that we're thankful for what they do. This information was provided by Sarah Shepard's article, Is the Youth Today Lacking in Discipline and Respect? Now, education, respect, and discipline are 3 important traits needed for what seems to be most important to deliver success. If our youth is lacking in education and respect and discipline, how can we be successful? We can't. Parents like to complain that it's because of today's distracting media and video games that kids rarely put themselves in situations where they have the opportunity to feel successful. But I don't believe this is 100% true. Not all kids have access to the internet or media for that matter. Let's face it, our education is slowly becoming less diverse than ever before. It's not bettering us to be as successful as the people before us, and ultimately we're just causing our generation to settle down and just be more of a lower income generation. It's not the teacher's fault for that example. I want to steer clear of that. It is the school boards for not allowing our education to be as diverse as it was in the past. And by the board, I mean the people up in Salem who decipher what schools are allowed to teach and what are not allowed to teach. Now you see that there's a very large problem in our modern day youth. Let's look at the definite solution to our problem. I believe music programs should be offered, especially because it is now proven that they make you smarter. In recent research done at Harvard University, they conducted an experiment between 5 students who did music education and 5 who did not, and they found an overall average percentage of at least 50% IQ. I've made a chart here to show this as an example. The students who did take musical education, they found had advanced finger dexterity, hand-eye coordination, multitasking skills, advanced math skills, literature, reading, writing, problem-solving skills, everything really. We see that, and on top of that, there's music theory involved with those. Music is considered a language. I don't know if you know that. It's considered the hardest language in the world. When you get more into music, there's music theory, as I just mentioned, which has its own world of applied maths and sciences, which together is considered the most complicated theory for the human mind to comprehend. Playing an instrument is one of the few things that also trains you to use both sides of your brain. This information was provided by citytv.com's article, Can Playing an Instrument Make Your Child Smarter? This covers the first problem. Now let's look at how music education can promote good respect and discipline. Learning an instrument simply teaches good focus and dedication, because you have to be dedicated to that instrument or music education for all that matter in order to learn anything about it. It's not something that comes extremely naturally. I mean, parts of it can, but there's a point where everyone is going to suffer extremely when it comes to music theory. It teaches discipline in the fact of when you learn to read music, or even the music theory of grasping at music, you are limited to reading in the boundaries of the music. You're disciplined to read within those boundaries. You can't go outside of that time signature, that key signature, those accidental sharps, flats, etc. Finally, it builds time management, which we all need to work on. You have to set aside time to learn that instrument. You have to set aside that time every day or every couple days a week, and you have to focus on that. So it gets your schedule running a lot more fluent. This information was provided by Shara Separate article again about youth lacking respect and discipline. Now, finally, let's get to what seems to be most important with today's generation: success. Musical education is proven to make individuals more successful. We have individuals such as Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein. A lot of you don't know that they were actually musicians, but Steve Jobs wasn't so much. He was just one to listen. He loved the idea of music theory. He would collect records, listen to them, and go through scores as the music played, while Albert Einstein played the violin in his free time. Obviously, musical education helps us develop a smarter IQ and teaches discipline and respect. It can obviously make us that much more successful. Also, it's been shown that people who learn music education, it's something good to put in your resume, because it can show employers that you can be very dedicated to something, that you can be hardworking and dedicated to your job. And learning music subconsciously teaches us lots of problem-solving skills in all areas of life. It teaches you all sorts of diverse educational methods and techniques that makes things that we revert to hundreds of thousands of times every day in everything we do. We just don't know because subconsciously. This information was provided by Australia SB's article, Benefits of Musical Education. Now, parents like to complain that music education just costs too much, or they can't do it, there's no time. Simply, if we offer it at school, it doesn't cost you anything more except for your instrument. And instruments can start, for music, for a school level, all you need is a beginner instrument that costs anywhere from $50 to $300. It costs no more than going out for the basketball team in most cases. I've compared the two several times, and usually going out for the basketball team costs more. So in conclusion, I ask you, while music education costs both time and money for the school and the individual, isn't it worth it? By offering musical education, we are developing a smarter, yet more successful youth for generations to come. Wouldn't you say it's worth it? Yes?
What instruments can you play?
I'd like to say all of them, but it's not true. I'm still suffering in the learning of the grass and